Smiling Observer ASMR. Hello everyone, my name is Smiling Observer, and the reason why I'm making this video is because I have to explain something. I made a post on Reddit. It's not a post per se, it was just a comment on a post. Now the post is, what is the scariest memory you have as a child? It was posted by user SitWicket530. And here's what I said. Here's what I said. I watched from the darkness of my grandma's bedroom as a man was murdered and the subsequent cover-up. I was 5 years old at the time. The only other witnesses, my mom, my grandma, and the neighbor whose yard it happened in, have all passed on. No one believes me. And a few people seem to think that I'm making this story up, or that this isn't true, or they're following the Reddit hive mind saying things like, yeah, look at his username, Smiling Observer. Of course he's telling the truth. As if to suggest that I'm making this up. And as brilliant as I'd like to believe myself to be, I'm not making this up. This really happened. So rather than spend a whole lot of time typing or putting it on my phone, I'm just going to make this video and tell you what happened. So I was playing in my grandmother's bedroom. Don't ask me why. My grandma has some fascinating stuff in her bedroom. But I was playing in it, and I heard the ruckus going on next door. So I looked outside the window and I couldn't see anything. I could barely see because of the light inside. So I ran to the light switch, and I flipped the switch and turned off the lights. And then I went back to the window. I got down on my knees and I just opened the window and I just looked outside. Now in the darkness, I saw a man and another man arguing, two men arguing. A man and another man arguing. I saw two men arguing. By the time I got back to the window, the one man had his hands up. He was backing up into the shadows because this is at night. And the only lights that we had outside were sodium lights. So just so you know, this is South Carolina, where I was born and raised. I no longer live there. Also, before I proceed any further, disclaimer, I will not be saying any names. I'm going to do my best not to say any names because I believe the person that committed the murder has already been arrested, and that's already been dealt with. He was in prison for some years, and he was out by the time I was a teenager. I am 46 now, so there's no need to run to the cops. But here's the thing. Anyway, I saw the guy backing up into the shallows with his hands up. And there's another guy, and he had a gun. I could clearly see the gun. And he had it leveled at this man. And he asked the man some questions. And the man answered his questions. And I believe that the man realized that his life was nearing an end. And they began to argue. A brief struggle ensued. And the next thing I remember was a couple of flashes in succession. At first, I didn't understand what was going on, and then I looked down, and I noticed that the man that was arguing, that was asking a question, that was backed into the shadows. He was laying on the ground. He was no longer moving, and the other man just stood over him. Now, my grandmother's neighbor was a man. I'm not going to say his name. Let's say his name was Jason. Jason comes running outside, and I know it was Jason because when you know somebody, you know somebody. All right? And you can see them from a distance. You can look at the bob of their head as they walk. You can look at the way that they walk. And you're like, yeah, that's got to be so-and-so. Well, I knew Jason. He came outside, and he looked at the man on the ground, and he looked at the guy standing there with the gun. And I remember him saying, "What did you do?" And he snatched the gun away from the guy. After they argue a little bit, he got up in the guy's face. He ran back inside the house. And then another man, the murderer ran inside the house. And then a younger man comes running out of the house. I'm assuming he was younger. He may have just been a smaller sized man. He came running outside, and he looked at the man, and then he ran back inside. Now, at this point, my mom comes walking into the room. She turned the lights on, and she sees me at the window. And she picks me up and pulls me away and says, "Get away from the window." And then she turned the lights off. And then she goes to the window and she opens the curtain imperceptibly and starts to peer out. And by this time, I went and I was looking out the other window and I couldn't see from the other window. So I ran back to the initial window and I looked and we peeked out. And then my grandmother comes into the room. It's her room. She turns the lights on. And I remember my mom saying, no, turn the light off, turn the light off, turn the light off. And I was smaller and I was quicker and I ran back to the window and I turned the light off. And my grandmother started asking my mother some questions. And my mother's like, shh, 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 shh. So my grandmother goes to the other window. She's peeking out imperceptibly. My mother's at the window that I was at. She's peeking out imperceptibly. And then I'm peeking out. And we watched as this man, two men come outside. The younger guy or the smaller guy and the murderer, I'm assuming. And they picked this guy up, grabbed him by his hands and his feet, and they disappeared behind the yard. So the way it was back then, there were our houses, my grandmother's house, my neighbor's house. My grandmother had a small field where she used to make a garden behind her house. And my neighbor had a small field behind his house where he had a garden. He also had pigs back there. And beyond our respective yards was just fields. Just sometimes they would plant tobacco back there. One time they had corn back there, I believe. But it was just fields and woods and trees. In fact, a couple of Christmases, my mom and her twin sister went back there looking for a Christmas tree. And they chopped one down and they cleaned it up and brought it into the house. And they made us a Christmas tree. But they disappeared back there. And I'm assuming that they buried the body. I remember Jason coming outside, and I can't tell if he had a shovel or what he had in his hand, but they went back there and disappeared, and I don't know what happened to the man's body. I do remember the next day, um, the police pulled up to his house, and the cop was asking him questions, and Jason had a big smile on his face. He was talking with the cop, and I don't know what Jason told him, but I don't know if the cop believed him or not, but I remember the cop left, and that smile Jason had just disappeared. Oh my goodness. So, this is just what I remember. Anyway, it was a shocking time. I don't remember how I dealt with it. I Even though I was young, I did understand that that man was dead and he wasn't getting back up. I also realized that if that guy's aim was off, one of those bullets could have struck me and I would have been dead. And I understood this when I was 5. Um, so, brief point that I want to make here. If your kid say that they saw something, talk to them, because they're not making it up. Kids are some of the most honest human beings that you will ever meet. They don't understand at this point how to lie good. Teenagers don't even know how to lie good. You know? I mean, I remember being a teenager telling my mother a lie, and my mother knew it was a lie. I knew it was a lie. But that's how people are. But when a kid tells you something, believe them, investigate, figure it out what they're talking about, because they have no reason to lie about what it is they see and experience. Now, something the Black community is starting to get better at is therapy, and getting therapy for our mental issues. Um, I received no therapy for this. Nobody sat me down and explained to me, hey, listen, I know you might be feeling some kind of way. None of that. I got none of that. So I think in some ways, I don't know, maybe I just got older and forgot about it. Or maybe I pushed it back in the back of my mind because I didn't want to think about it anymore. But back in 2010, 2011, I was at work. I was now living in Mississippi. I was 35 years old, and I was working on an assembly line. I was helping to reassemble some engines. And while I was standing there doing my work, or preparing to do my work, this thought just surfaced. And then when it surfaced, I caught it and I began to examine it. And I was like, I remember that. And then it dawned on me, I witnessed a murder. Oh my goodness, I witnessed a murder. And I had an associate who was in law enforcement, and I asked him, hey, and I explained to him the situation, and he was like, I was like, what do you think I should do? And he was like, contact the local police, and tell them, what you know. It may help them solve the case, because that could be a cold case. I do now know that the person's already been put in prison for it and have gotten out for it. So um, I justice has been served, so to speak. But the fact of the matter is, I still gotta live with this stupid memory in my head of this guy murdering this other guy, you know? And wow, I went 30 years before that memory resurfaced. And then I remembered. And then I realized what I'm remembering. Oh my goodness, I witnessed the murder. Now here's the thing. The only other witnesses that I know who knows for sure what happened is my mom, who passed away in 2012, Christmas of 2012. My grandmother, who passed away in June of 2003. And Jason, who also passed away in 2015, 2016. I remember being at a neighbor's house. I was visiting South Carolina, and I went in to see this lady because she was one of the mothers in the community that I grew up in. And I don't know, they say it takes a community, a village to raise a child, and she was one of those villagers to help raise me, help raise us. And I went in and I spoke with her. Hadn't seen her in years, just wanted to say hello. And I hadn't realized that they had a death in the family, and it was Jason that died. And I stood there and I talked with her for a while, and then her son came in. Her youngest son was maybe a year older than me. He graduated a year before I did. I graduated in 94, he graduated in 93. And we all talked for a little bit. And then I looked at this one guy that was in the house, and he was sitting there with his wife. And I realized that this guy looks a lot like Jason did 30 years ago. And I realized that that was Jason's son. So anyway, I believe I kind of lost you guys there. My power source died here. But anyway, and to wrap this up, I looked over and I saw a young man that looked just like Jason. He was probably actually my age. And I realized that was Jason and his wife talking. And so I didn't ask the lady what I was thinking. And what I thought to ask was, who's the man that got shot and killed in Jason's yard 30 years ago? Do you know about that? Because she has to know. But I didn't realize that Jason had died that day. When I realized that he was buried that day. And so as a result, I didn't say anything. And even today, I don't know that I would say anything because I don't want to exacerbate anything. I'm sorry, I'm looking over here, but my camera eye is right here because I'm looking at myself over here. But I didn't say anything because I didn't want to do harm to the family. I didn't want to be disrespectful. And it was just best if I said nothing. And at this point, I'm uninclined to pursue information because I don't want to upset people, and I don't want anybody coming after me. My point is, I'm telling you guys all this because this was a real thing. It really happened to me. I have no reason to make this up. I wouldn't even consider myself an influencer. All right? I'm not trying to get fake internet points. I have all the fake internet points that I need. And fake internet points translates to what? Doesn't put money in my pocket. It doesn't make me any richer. It's not going to get me an honorary degree from Harvard. It's just, why would I do that? It's just, no, not doing that. So, anyway, I hope you guys have a good night. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'm going to bid you all adieu.